Hey everyone, what if you were a 10-year-old kid who was so brainwashed that you had an imaginary friend who happened to be the most evil dictator in history, and then one day you found out your own mother was hiding a Jewish girl in the walls of your house? What would you do? We start in the German town of Falkenheim, where a 10-year-old boy named Jojo Betzler has Hitler as his imaginary friend, because the kid is part of the Hitler Youth, and they manipulated him into believing that Hitler is the true hero who will save Germany. So Jojo walks through the streets doing the Nazi salute like it's the most normal thing in the world, and then he meets up with his friend Yorkie, and the two of them head to the Hitler Youth camp to spend the weekend there. Then Captain Klenzendorf introduces himself and tells the boys they're gonna learn how to throw grenades and even shoot real weapons, and the boys get all excited and start clapping for him. After that, the training begins, and the boys learn to climb ropes and exercise wearing gas masks. And in the classroom portion, Officer Fräulein teaches the kids and draws a Jewish person with a demonic appearance, so the young ones would think that every Jewish person is evil and wicked. And at night, they make a huge bonfire, and the students burn the books that go against Nazi beliefs. And just so you guys know, this actually happened in real life, because back in 1933, the Nazis burned around 25,000 books that went against what Hitler preached, including books that were written by German authors. Moving on to the next morning, the teenagers at the camp gather the kids to see if they have the guts to take out a Jewish person or an enemy soldier, so they give a rabbit to Jojo and tell the boy to finish it off to prove that he has the courage to take a life. But Jojo feels sorry for the rabbit and lets it go on the ground so the animal can escape, except one of the teenagers grabs the animal before it could get away and finishes it off without showing any remorse. And then the teenagers say that the kid is a coward, just like his father who deserted, and they nickname him Jojo Rabbit to mock him, since rabbit is, well, rabbit in English. With that, the nickname sticks and the other kids start calling him that too, and Jojo runs away from there to be alone, and imaginary Hitler shows up to talk to the boy and explains that rabbits are actually pretty brave because they go out there looking for carrots, even with all kinds of predators trying to hunt them down. On top of that, the German dictator also says that people just say whatever comes to mind, and that he himself is treated unfairly when people call him a lunatic and a madman. But obviously Hitler gave more than enough reasons for people to think that about him, right guys? Since bad people always think their evil actions are justified, like Hitler himself, who thought he was saving Germany from the Jewish people. But moving on with the story, Jojo gets fired up by the dictator's words and runs back to the camp and sees that the other kids are practicing grenade throws, and he snatches a grenade that Captain Klenzendorf was holding and throws it to try and prove he's brave. But the grenade bounces off a tree and comes flying right back at Jojo, blowing the kid up. With that, we see some scenes showing Jojo in the ambulance, and then in the operating room at a hospital, and a few days go by and the boy wakes up in his room, and when he looks in the mirror, he notices he's got some scars on his face. Then his mom named Rose comes into the room and tries to cheer him up by saying those scars will fade over time. And then Rose helps her son put on his Hitler Youth uniform because Jojo hurt his leg when he got hit by that grenade, and Rose teaches him how to tie his shoes using that old technique of making little bunny ears with the laces. After that, the two of them arrive at the Hitler Youth headquarters, and Rose kicks Captain Klenzendorf right in the family jewels and says the guy is to blame for what happened to her son. Then the captain explains that his superiors demoted him for negligence and agrees to give the boy a task so he can feel like he's helping his country in the war. So the captain asks Jojo to spread Nazi propaganda posters around the city, and the boy is thrilled about it. But during one afternoon of work, Jojo comes across the bodies of people who were taken out in the public square and starts wondering what they could have possibly done to deserve that. Later on, Jojo comes back home and hears a strange noise coming from his late sister Inge's room, so he goes upstairs to investigate and finds a mark that starts on the floor and goes up to the wall, and he sticks his knife into the wall, and when he forces it open, he ends up finding a secret passage. That's how Jojo starts exploring this place and gets the scare of his life when he comes face to face with a girl named Elsa Kor, who's been hiding in there, and Jojo thinks the girl is a ghost and runs downstairs to try and escape through the front door. But the girl manages to catch him at the last second and pins him against the wall, and Elsa sarcastically says she's something worse than a ghost, meaning a Jewish girl, and that Jojo's own mother let her hide there so the Nazis wouldn't get rid of her. Then the boy looks at the house phone, hinting that he's going to tell the Nazis everything, but Elsa threatens him and says that Jojo's mother will also be taken out if he does that. After all, she's the one who let Elsa hide in the house. So Elsa goes back to her hiding spot, and Jojo starts talking to imaginary Hitler to try and find a solution, but the German dictator is completely nuts and tells the boy to set his own house on fire just to get rid of Elsa. But luckily Jojo doesn't go through with that idea and uses a pot as a helmet and a lid as a shield to try and force the Jewish girl out of his late sister's room. But Elsa catches him off guard by coming up from behind and steals the knife that Jojo was holding. Later that night, Rose comes back home, and the boy says he heard strange noises coming from upstairs just to test her reaction, and Rose lies and says it was just rats living inside the walls. After that, Rose tucks her son into bed and brings something for Elsa to eat. Then she explains that the girl needs to be more quiet so Jojo doesn't find out about her, because the woman still doesn't know that her son has already come face to face with the girl. However, Elsa asks Rose to try and explain the situation to Jojo, to see if maybe he'll develop some empathy for her, but the woman explains that her son is a fanatic for the Nazi party, and that he would never help a Jewish girl like Elsa. The next day, Jojo is swimming in the pool, and doing physical therapy with Officer Fräulein so his leg can slowly get better, and Rose says goodbye to her son, and the boy takes advantage of her leaving, and asks Captain Klenzendorf what he should do if he ever saw a Jewish person, and the captain says Jojo should contact the Gestapo, and they would take out the Jewish person, and also whoever was helping them. And for those who don't know, the Gestapo was the secret police that Hitler created with the goal of monitoring and going after anyone who could be a threat to the Nazi party, but they also went after minority groups like the Jewish people themselves. But back to the movie, Jojo decides to keep his mouth shut so he doesn't put his mother's life at risk, and later he goes back home and calls Elsa to ask her some questions about Jewish people, and the girl tells him she was friends with his sister and starts giving sarcastic answers just to mess with the research that Jojo is doing about Jewish people. So the boy gets annoyed and sees he belongs to the Aryan race, and that Elsa should show him some respect. He even says that Aryans are superior because they have blue eyes and blonde hair. However, Elsa covers Jojo's mouth and then throws him onto the bed to show that he's got nothing superior about him, since he just got physically overpowered by a Jewish girl. Later that night, the boy's having dinner with his mom, and she puts on some music and starts dancing, explaining that she's happy because the Allies took Italy and kicked the Nazis out of there. But Jojo gets upset and asks why his mother hates the country they live in. However, Rose explains that she loves Germany, and the only thing she hates is Hitler and this pointless war that he started. Then Jojo complains and says his father would do the right thing if he were still home. So Rose puts on the guy's jacket and uses the smoke from the fireplace to create a fake beard, and then she starts imitating him just to make Jojo feel better. The next day, the boy goes back to talk to Elsa and gives her a pencil and a piece of paper so she can draw where Jewish people live, as if they were a completely different species. So Elsa starts drawing and shows him a photo of her fiance Nathan and explains that he's part of the Jewish resistance that's fighting against the Nazis. And right after that, Elsa hands the drawing to Jojo, and he's surprised to see that the girl drew his head, but she explains that she did what Jojo asked and drew the place where Jewish people live, meaning she was saying that Jewish people are living rent-free in the Nazis' heads. After that, the boy meets up with imaginary Hitler, and the two of them come up with the idea of writing a fake letter in Nathan's name to lie and say he's breaking up with Elsa. So Jojo starts reading the letter to the girl and makes up that Nathan found another girl and that he's living a happy and peaceful life far away from the war. And obviously Elsa knows that the little kid is just making all of this up, but she still gets sad and goes inside the wall to cry in there. So Jojo feels bad for the girl and writes another letter saying that Nathan still loves her and that he wants to be with her. And with that, Elsa forgives Jojo and thanks him for trying to make her feel better. Later on, the boy and his mom go for a walk by the river, and she tells him that before the war started, this place used to be full of couples in love, laughing and having a good time. But Jojo says that's nonsense, and that the war is more important than silly romances. And then, Rose says that kids like her son should be playing and having fun instead of talking about war and politics. And on top of that, Rose also tries to teach the boy that life is a gift from God, and that they should enjoy it and be grateful every single day. And on the way back home, Jojo and his mom see some wounded German soldiers coming back from the war, and they're clearly in rough shape. So Jojo gets home feeling sad, because he's starting to think that Germany will actually lose this war. And Elsa notices that the boy is feeling down, and tries to cheer him up by telling made-up stories about Jewish people living in caves and using witchcraft. And Jojo believes these lies and writes them down in his little book as if they were facts. But despite all of that, the boy is having a great time with the Jewish girl, and is starting to become friends with her. And this shows that Jojo isn't really a Nazi, he's just an innocent kid who wants to be part of a group so he's not left out. Not to mention, of course, the brainwashing that the Nazis did to the young people of that era to convert them to their ideology. After that, he goes into his room, and imaginary Hitler asks why the boy's been spending so much time with a Jewish girl, but Jojo explains that he's just gathering information about the enemy so he can write a book that will help the German soldiers fight against the Jewish people. And then, Jojo falls asleep, and Rose takes the chance to talk to Elsa for a bit, and she tells the girl that she looks like her late daughter, and that she feels happy being able to watch Elsa grow up and become a woman, since she can't say the same about her own daughter who passed away way too soon. Moving on to the next day, Captain Klenzendorf asks Sub-Officer Finkel to bring some guard dogs, and the young man brings several German shepherds over there. But the captain gets annoyed when he sees that Finkel didn't bring the dog breed, and instead literally brought men who are shepherds in Germany. After that, Jojo shows up at the Hitler Youth Headquarters, and the captain asks the boy to put on a robot costume and walk around the city asking the residents for scrap metal and old pots, so the soldiers can use them to make barbed wire and other weapons. And after a short walk, Jojo runs into his mother on the street and sees that she left a little note on top of a small table and then walked away from there. So Jojo grabs the note and realizes it's an anti-Nazi flyer asking for Germany to be freed from Hitler's grip. Later on, the boy is turning in the scrap metal he managed to collect, and Yorkie comes over to talk to him, and Jojo is shocked to see that his friend has become a soldier and that he's carrying a rifle. After all, Yorkie is only 11 years old. And it's not like he had a choice, since boys from 6 to 18 were forced to be part of the Hitler Youth, and the girls were too, but they didn't get weapons training. Instead, they were taught how to treat the wounds of German soldiers coming back from the war. Then Jojo tells him that he captured a Jewish girl, and Yorkie says he saw some being captured in the forest, and that the Jewish people seemed like normal people just like them. After that, the boy goes back to his house and gives Elsa some colored pencils as a gift, and they start chatting, and Jojo says he's gonna be one of those guys who never kissed a girl, just like you watching this video right now. However, Elsa asks if Jojo wants her to kiss him, and the boy says that would be illegal because a Nazi and a Jewish girl couldn't even be talking to each other, but Elsa explains that the boy isn't a Nazi because he's been nice to her. And then, Elsa looks at herself in the mirror and realizes how dirty she is, and Jojo feels bad for her, and lets the girl take a bath in the bathroom of his house. And Jojo gives her some clothes that belong to his late sister for Elsa to wear, and his stomach starts filling up with butterflies, showing that the boy ended up falling for the Jewish girl. After that, Jojo is making lunch, and someone knocks on the door, so Elsa gets scared thinking it might be a Nazi and runs upstairs. Then Jojo answers the door, and the Gestapo captain named Hermann Diertz tells him they're there for a routine inspection. So the guys walk into the house and start turning over the furniture looking for anything suspicious, but right after that, Captain Klenzendorf and Finkel show up and give the excuse that they just want to drop off some flyers for Jojo to hand out on the street later. And after a few minutes of exchanging greetings, Hermann walks into Jojo's room and is happy to see that the boy has some Hitler posters stuck on the walls. But all of a sudden, Hermann and all the other Nazis hear a noise coming from upstairs and get even more suspicious. And then they go upstairs, and Hermann notices that Jojo isn't carrying the Hitler Youth knife that the other kids usually carry on their uniforms. And the boy starts stuttering trying to explain the missing knife, and Elsa shows up right on time showing that she found it. So the girl lies and says she's Jojo's sister, and even does the Nazi salute so the guys don't get suspicious. However, Hermann isn't stupid and asks to see the girl's documents, and Elsa grabs the ID card of Inge, who is Jojo's late sister. Then Klenzendorf takes the document and asks what the date of birth on it is just to test if the girl is telling the truth. And Elsa says the date, and Klenzendorf tells everyone that she got it right without showing the ID to the other Nazis. And right after that, Hermann finds the book that Jojo has been writing, and he and the other Nazis start laughing at the drawings the boy made showing Jewish people being taken out in all kinds of cruel ways, and Elsa gets hurt seeing the drawings and tries to hide that emotion so the Gestapo members don't notice. So the guys believe they're innocent and leave. Then Elsa tells Jojo that she got the date of birth wrong by a difference of 7 days, and that Captain Klenzendorf knew it, and decided to help them by not ratting them out to the Gestapo members. And the boy explains that nobody knows his sister passed away, and that Elsa can take on her identity to live a normal life. But the girl is still hurt by the drawings in the book, and says that she and Jojo can't be friends. Later, Jojo is walking through the city, and finds a butterfly on the ground, and he starts following it, and is left in complete shock when he comes across his mother's body displayed in the public square, because the Nazis found out that Rose had been spreading those notes asking for the war to end. And Jojo hugs his mother's legs and stays there crying for several hours, completely broken down. And I hope you guys were just as surprised as I was when I saw this scene for the first time, since it seemed like it was just a cute and innocent moment of Jojo chasing a butterfly through the city. After that, the boy goes back home furious, and blames Elsa for what happened to his mother, and he tries to stab the girl and only manages to cause a minor cut on her. After all, Jojo has the strength of a child. However, Elsa doesn't fight back and just comforts the boy. Later on, the girl explains to Jojo that his mother was part of the resistance, and that she didn't tell him because he was a fanatic for the Nazi party. And Elsa also explains that his father is fighting in the resistance, and not in Hitler's army. And to make the boy feel better, Elsa reveals that her parents were sent to a concentration camp, and that they're probably no longer alive. But as the days go by, Jojo has to look for food in the city's dumpster so he and Elsa can survive, while the Russians from the Soviet Union are getting closer and closer to invading German territory, because Hitler has already lost the war. Then Jojo runs into Yorkie, and the kid drops a rocket launcher on the ground and nearly takes out his own guys. And Yorkie tells him that Hitler was no longer alive, and Jojo can't believe it. After all, the dictator was his hero. And then the Allies start bombing the city, and the two of them run to Officer Fraulein, and she gives a pistol to Yorkie and a military jacket for Jojo to wear so he's not mistaken for an enemy. With that, Captain Klenzendorf and all the other soldiers fight to protect the city, including the kids who are part of the Hitler Youth. But Jojo is scared, so he hides under a structure. After a few hours, the battle is over, and Jojo comes out of hiding and sees that the American and Russian soldiers are celebrating their victory, while Hermann and the other Gestapo members surrender surrendered so they wouldn't be taken out. Then an enemy soldier sees the German jacket the little kid is wearing and forces him to go stand with the other captured Nazis. And the boy runs into Captain Klenzendorf, and the guy says that Jojo's mother was a good person and that she didn't deserve to die. So Klenzendorf decides to help Jojo escape from there. First he rips the jacket off the boy and then spits on him, calling him a Jew. That way the soldiers think Jojo is Jewish and let him go, but as a consequence, Klenzendorf gets taken out by the soldiers. After that, Jojo sees that Yorkie is alive and talks to the boy briefly, and right after he runs back home and lies to Elsa saying that Germany won the war because he's afraid that the girl will leave him and he'll be all alone. So Jojo writes another letter pretending to be Nathan, and Elsa opens a little door to the hiding spot and reveals that her boyfriend is no longer alive and that he passed away from tuberculosis last year. Then Jojo confesses that he loves Elsa, and she says she loves him too, but not as a boyfriend, more like a little brother. Later on, imaginary Hitler shows up with a bullet wound in his head and tells the boy to put on an armband with a swastika on it, but Jojo throws the armband on the floor and kicks Hitler right out. In the end, he and Elsa walk out the front door of the house, and the girl sees that the Allies won the war and slaps Jojo for lying to her, and then Elsa and Jojo start dancing to celebrate their freedom, just like Rose used to do. So guys, what did you think of this movie? Were you surprised by Rose's fate?